and I'm rushing to my car dressed to impress in faded black sweatpants, Crocs, and an oversized faded t-shirt that says fun-sized. My locks are on top of my head in a loose bun. I've got 2 overstuffed laundry bags slung over my shoulder, keys in hand, and I'm praying I don't run into any of my students in town. I'm rushing to the laundromat in Woodstock in time to get the big washers and secure the best dryers. I'm also rushing because it's Mother's Day, and I need to call my mother and sister. When I was 3 years old, I helped my mother get ready for work, brushing her hair while she got her face ready, with General Hospital droning on in the background. I'm fascinated by her assorted paint palettes and witch bottles of perfume laid out before her. My mother is a fairy applying her glamour. When I'm in my teens, my mother tells me, pinch your nose for an hour a day because it's too broad. And don't stay long in the sun because you're dark enough already. I push away from my mother's ideals of beauty, light complexion, straight-haired and made up, and become goth AF, dressing in black from head to toe and cutting out my relaxer. So many ways I call myself forging a different path than my mother's, swimming against her tide, only to circle back and find that she is in the center. My mother, back in her day, was part of the Light Bright Club of Black women who were the first to integrate a nursing school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My mother's friend, Paula, told me that she was not pushed forward in the way my mother and her friends were because she didn't have my mother's light complexion and long hair. As my mother's daughter, I was expected to mold myself into an appearance that had no relation to my own kind of beauty. As a teacher, the more professional I'm told to dress, the more tattoos and piercings I get, in order to push back from the assumption that body art, Black femaleness, so-called ethnicness, is other and wrong. And don't get me started on how Black women have the type of hair and backsides that even dressed in the most conservative styles read as inappropriate to white sensibilities. So I push back because if me walking around just breathing is judged as unacceptable, I'm gonna fight like hell to be myself. As I drive, I listen to Abelona's canto for Oshun, the Yoruba deity of the river. At 29, I became an initiate in the Lukumi faith, a belief system brought to Cuba by the Yoruba people of Nigeria. I attended my first Dilogon reading, a reading of the shells, with my godmother. When I walk into the Olorisha's house, a young man dressed in white stands up to give me a big hug. You need to praise your ancestors, he says. I don't know what you may have gone through in past lives, but your ancestors have paved a clear way for you now, so you don't have to fight any battles. They're proud of you, and they keep your road clear. The Olorisha throws the shells and interprets the patterns. Your mother is a child of Oshun, she tells me. The patterns of the shells show the priestess that it's my role to protect my mother. My mother was raised in a Baptist Methodist household, but the Olorisha tells me that if times had been different, my mother would have been a powerful priestess. She ran when the spirits called to her, the Olorisha said. Later, I asked my mother if she's ever had any experience with spirits, and she tells me that yes, since her childhood, she's seen the spirits of the dead and is frightened of them. I'm singing along to the Okpan's call and response as I pull into the parking lot in Woodstock. Wemele Oshun, Oshun Dede, Alawede, Omile Oshun. It's sunny outside, and there's only one other car in the parking lot. This is going to be a good day, I think to myself. And then my cell phone rings. It's my sister calling me on Mother's Day. That doesn't happen. I'm the one who does the calling. I hesitate before I answer the phone, my lifted spirits turning to dread. What happened, I ask. Mom died this morning, my sister said. Oshun is the deity of medicine and healing, but my mother had smoked since she was 14 or 15 years old and refused to give it up, even though it was killing her. Mom had been feeling weak the night before, and when she woke up that morning, she felt so tired, she asked my father to call an ambulance so she could go to the hospital. But as she walked out of the house, she collapsed and was gone. Somehow I get home from the laundromat. Somehow I tell my partner. Somehow I tell my boss. Somehow I make my way home to Milwaukee to attend the funeral. The time between that phone call and seeing my mother in the casket is a blur. At the funeral, my cousin says to me, "You look so much like your mother," and I feel like I'm coming full circle. After my mother's death, I start to look at my mother, Lillie Grey, growing up in the hood, the favorite child who always had her face in a book instead of dwelling on the negative, and I'm seeing that my mother did the best with what she had. Oshun helps me see my mother as a person. I begin to separate out my own bias and judgment that she was vain and frivolous and see her for who she was, a bright, beautiful, and high-maintenance woman who people loved and flocked to. My mother was a child of Oshun, a healer, even though she couldn't heal herself. Over the years, my mother always showed up in my readings. The message would be, "You're doing great, but your mother." So many blessings and prayers were said for my mother. After a while, I felt resentful, and I stopped getting readings. It's been 7 years since I've had a reading. I'm in my Babalawo's apartment. He has arumila shells ready. I kneel on the grass mat, fully expecting the reading to be about Mom, even though she's dead. The Babalawo gives me a head marking to see which Orisha owns my head, and it's Yemaya who speaks. Yemaya, sister of Oshun, the Yoruba deity of the ocean and motherhood. As I begin to look at who my mother was, I see that, like the river Oshun, my mother navigated the confines and rocky terrain of being a Black woman in the 1960s Midwest. The waters of her life were contained by the path cut into the earth by other people. She made her way through the rock, sand, and debris of her time, trying her best to reach the ocean and expand beyond her confines. My mother never told me she was proud of me. She told other people she was proud of me. She was proud that I pushed for a Black History Month at the school where I work, that I pushed back against the limitations imposed on Black children and Black women. She couldn't do this. My mother's life was a river that flowed through the channels carved out by society and her own currents. Like the river to the ocean, the waters of my mother's life flowed into mine, allowing me to expand beyond the narrow channels that were too limited to contain my true identity. It's her waters that carried me to the ocean where I could be free.